Let me see if that works. Yes, we're live. Welcome everybody to our new segment. We are very happy to welcome Peter Foster from Australia. He's currently in Brisbane. He's going to tell us more about what he's doing, where he is right now. And almost on the antipodes of Brisbane is Jorge Zavala. He's originally from Mexico, but he's a very influential, renowned entrepreneur in the Silicon Valley area. Thanks for joining us, Jorge and Peter.
Yeah, nice to
Thank you. Thank you
share
for
with
having
you.
me. Thank you for having me, Gabriel.
Okay, Jorge, can you start by telling us a little bit about who you are and your interest in education, which I think is going to be very important for the audience?
Okay, I am a serial entrepreneur all the time related to technology, how to use electronics, artificial intelligence, and all that things in different areas of the world. And lately, in the last year at least, I has been very much involved in how to use AI into different fashions of education. In one side, I am working with how you use AI to help people or entrepreneurs in developing their own startups. And secondly, I am working into a new project that is how we can use AI to help people that is retiring or looking to retire in searching for what is next in their life. And my interest is training entrepreneurs or training people how to find the next thing is not an easy job. It's something that you could write programs, you can be very structured, but at the very end, one of the big challenge here is you need to learn all the time. And that with technology today is one of the things that I love it. And my interest is how we can find ways to reduce the friction in how to learn complex subjects, how you break paradigms, how you increase your awareness in how to use technology in nowadays with the AI in a way that instead of fighting with the technology, using it as a tool to empower and enhance your capability to doing things.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jorge. Peter, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you are? And we saw an appearance behind you a minute ago.
Thanks, Gabriel. Yeah, and I'm the principal of the industry school in Brisbane, and our students do their education and industry dovetailed back to back. And I'm right now at our race course, Eagle Farm Racecourse, with horses stables, and Voss is right behind me, wanting to say hello. And I have two of my students who are with me as well, who are just going to pop their heads in for 2 seconds before. That's Charlie and Evie, so they can wave. So they've been here for quite a while today. And so we are looking at our Equine Academy. So all of our students do industry and they do what we do as a QCE. So industry meaning that you may be working in construction or marine or the Energy Academy, or you might be in the Equine Academy and part of that. So it's about having a difference in education where we do it differently, where we place our students in the forefront of what they're doing. So they do their academics as well as the practical on the ground. And our young ladies who are here right now are working in that. So we're just presenting to a whole range of people who are coming into the stables, which we are right at this point in time.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you both. So, as you both know, the theme for today is change in education, and both your perspectives are very valuable. Peter, we've been friends for many years, and I've followed your career path, and you've evolved from a very academic school into schools that are a lot more personalized and that can cater to children who are interested in other learning paths that are not the usual ones. and Jorge, who's mostly in the entrepreneurial sector, as he shared, and dealing with higher education and connected to universities. You have a unique point of view in terms of what the marketplace demands, especially some of the most aspirational companies that are out there in Silicon Valley. So maybe in terms of chronology, Peter, can you reflect on your own journey in all these years? How have you seen education evolve to the point where what you're doing now is equally valuable to what you were doing when you were the principal of a highly academic college?
Yeah, I think the biggest part for me is the involving of coming from an academic college where you're having the high outputs and looking at scores to having developing young people for the character they are. And I call about that with the will and skill. There's two parts to that. One is the will and skill, the will and attitude to be outstanding at what you're doing. And the other one, you can't develop the skills unless you have the will and the attitude. And in the second part of that is differentiation to be able to educate students. I've involved where we used to have places where I had classes of 30 and a teacher, and you would teach to the middle of the curriculum, and you'd be looking at a bell curve to wherever they were and trying to push them up to the right of the bell curve. Where now I'm really much into differentiated education, where each one of our students, whether it's a class of 20, are able to each achieve to their levels, and that's their success, whether it is at one end of the levels to the other end. And for me, that's really a big change where it's not about pumping out numbers, it's about pumping out human beings with those characteristics of resilience, determination, attitude that are going to make the world a better place. Now, some of these students come out earning a lot of money, but the whole stage of that is really becoming fantastic influences on society coming through. And at some point here, I'd love to get Charlie at the moment to talk a little bit about that, because she's going to talk about what her journey, and also Evie will be in the picture of that, but what their journey was. They're both girls that come from various schools that were like that, and now they're at a school where they can do their academics, but at the same time, they're developing themselves as people as they move into the areas that they're interested in. So it's very individualized education. And the view of that, I think, in how I think the whole world needs to be upturned in education, where we're not looking at a 17th century of having everyone sitting in front of a classroom, in front of a screen all the time, but that's used as part of a tool in individual plans for each and every single student.
So
Does that
are
answer
you
your
still,
question, Gabriel?
yeah. Are your students coming in now or after Jorge answers?
Oh, no, I've got them right here. Here,
Okay, yeah,
here
yeah,
they
okay,
come.
bring them on and
Here,
then we'll listen
here
to
you go.
Jorge.
So
Yeah.
this is Charlie and Evie come in as well. They both got their gear on, and this is Gabrielle, and so also from Mexico. So Charlie, go for it. All yours.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us and thanks for telling us about this. We're very grateful.
Thank you for having us. First of all, I just wanted to start off saying I joined the industry school in January 2024. And coming from my old school, my grades weren't the best. I was struggling in school and it wasn't my thing being in a classroom. And as soon as I moved to the industry school, I noticed a drastic change in my grades coming from C's to becoming A's. And I found myself really excelling in the industry part of things, with going to work experience at racing stables, getting those connections that I needed, doing internships in different states, and then finding myself in a traineeship as a vet nurse, at such a young age. And I just think that every young person has, obviously some people want to go to school and uni and become lawyers and doctors, but the people who don't would really excel from being in a type of environment that the industry school offers.
What
Yeah.
else do you say?
I know.
How do you feel when you have your own goals and your own education? Do you think that suffices when you're able to achieve the dreams that you want to achieve at the pace you want to achieve them?
It's been outstanding seeing the support that I'm getting from my teachers and my fellow students. and letting them having them let me create my own path and helping me and supporting me that way.
Now, Evie, you were just on a racehorse model just then, riding a horse.
Yeah.
Just in about, I don't know, 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So how does school differ from where you were, where it's a very traditional style schooling, to where you are now?
Well, yeah, so like Charlie, I decided very early on that I didn't need to go the university pathway. So being able to go to the industry school and still getting my education and then going out and learning the industry side of things, it gets me out of the classroom and it teaches me so much more.
Yeah, good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, well done. Anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, actually, and the way that the schooling and education works is that I'm not learning things that I'm not going to use in my future. I'm learning how to make a budget for when I leave home and I have to pay for my own things. I'm learning things that I'm actually going to need to use. And I'm not saying that you're never going to need to use Pi or learn how to do that stuff, but I'm learning real world things, and in English, creating a resume and sitting a mock interview. It's those type of real world things that I think a lot of people everywhere, no matter who you are, would definitely benefit from.
Okay. So there's some good examples regarding it's about personalised to them. Where we've got now is that students can go, if they want to go to uni later, they can go to uni, or they can go and follow their dreams and what they're doing. But developing two fine young people that I've got on my left, right here is what we're all about. And just because we've got a horse behind us, Bossy has just taken off. They're all making the noises around us. It makes a big difference, I think, from when the journey that I've been on, where it has been very much a corporate journey of creating that, is now a personalised journey for each one of our students. And of course, there's that responsibility of running a school. There's no doubt about that. But being able to individualise it for each and every student, we have over 1,200 students that are doing each different individual programs that do half of the semester doing that. The other half of the semester, they're in their education block doing their studies. So it's quite different, and it's really enjoyable. So that's, I suppose, for me, I've been striving to go that way.
Wonderful, Peter, and congratulations to both your students who evidently have learned to express themselves with great self-confidence, and that is a wonderful skill for today and the future. So well done.
And there was
well done.
nothing rehearsed about that, Gabrielle. I just pushed them straight out of the horse on there.
Well done, well done, well done. Jorge, can you reflect on this based on your perspective? Again, Jorge is very active in Silicon Valley. It's again one of the places that has become globally aspirational for many people. How do you resonate with this shift in education where we might not be focusing entirely on academics? How does that reflect with what you see there in the industry, and especially with your specialty, which is entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I love, and congratulations, Peter. It's really remarkable to see this kind of approach with the people that is doing this experience. Lately, about 2 weeks ago, I did an experiment. With Gabriel, when he comes here with a group of people to Silicon Valley, one of the things I love is how you do experiments and how you learn. And I was invited recently to a university in Cancun, a well-known place for vacation, but there is also universities down there. And one of the things I loved was taking the students of the just first semester in talking how you learn today AI. And that is very similar to the approach that you are using, Peter. Is do you teach them or do they learn them? That is one of the big questions, and I really want to focus, because in the traditional education we were going to teach and teach and teach, and we don't care if they learn. Now, with this approach of learning, that means in project-based projects, project-based learning, or doing learning by doing, or something that I call it that, how is your disruptive learning experience? And the disruptive learning experience is when you realize that you learned by doing something that you want to achieve. In this experiment that I run in Cancun was amazing, because I took a group of 6 students split into teams and say is that you are just beginning in the university, you are not yet into learning how to do programming, how to use AI, how to do projects. What could be done in 6 weeks that you invest time to learn how to create an applications to solve a specific problem that you are looking to solve? And that is quite interesting because in a lot of places, we think that we need to train the people to be ready to doing things. And here, I took the experiment in the other way around. That, in the same way that you say, very personalized, first of all, what is the problem that you want to solve? It's starting from the interest of the student. Secondly, how you can use AI to ask for help. And you start to be guided with a mentorship that I provided week to week during 8 weeks to the students, how they could be building an applications to manage attention deficit for people creating a game. And that was amazing that after 6 weeks, the group of students were able to create a prototype that was working, was running into their phones, showing to the students in a conference in a big auditorium, in the same way that you provided to your 2 students that you have, Peter. That is something that we need to focus how they are able to think something they like it, how they express, training themselves, how explore. And with AI today, you can rehearse so many times. If you fail, you don't care. You try again and you try again. We're very lucky because AI do not say, hey, you are a very bad student. Don't worry. That is something that we need to learn about that. And I agree very much is we need to focus in what are the interests of the students, how to guide them to achieve the goals they would like to do it, and how to make the measurements of success in how close of the goal that you set, you are able to reach that. And that is a very different approach than the traditional school. That is the way that Silicon Valley happens. Is the very first thing is you set a goal to solve problem that you don't know how to solve it, because if you know how to solve it and everybody knows how to solve it, is repeating things. And we are not in the education thinking in how to repeat things. We are very much in how the students are able to create new solutions, new ways to reach a goal. And that approach is a very different way to be going. And that is one of the ways I love it. And I don't know is how many times we can do that. Is every time is an opportunity to run that experiment, and that is fantastic.
Jorge, let me stay with you for a second, and then I'll go back to Peter. In your experience, and based on the work that you do and what you've just mentioned, how should schools change to help students have the skills that the market needs? Because we have the feeling that we're still teaching skills that are outdated, and much of what you just mentioned very eloquently and very clearly is not very in line with what we do in schools. So how should schools change in your view?
Well, first and all, they need to encourage the students to have curiosity, to start seeking for problems. And the problems are really the raw material that we need to use. What are the problems in the location, in the world, in any place? Is here in Silicon Valley, we would like to think very global, is seek for a problem that is everywhere. That will be nice. But sometimes we are not able to identify if the problem is local or is worldwide. And in that sense, in your point, Gabriel, I really feel that we need to say to the students, get curious in seeking for that problems. And don't feel afraid to say, I don't know. One of the beautiful things of learning is the only thing that you need to have to learn is to not know anything. If you already know, you are not learning, you are already doing improvement or you are doing some kind of detailing. And I love to have some way that the people seek for the unknown. And that is something that how universities need to work, make the people feel very safe when they are in the unknown world. If you don't know, instead of worrying that is far away for the solution, it's better to say how I can bring that solution that nobody else has been able to do it. That is the best kind of things. And that challenge implies that is something else that I really encourage in universities. If you fail, it's not a bad thing. The bad thing is not to learn from the failure. If you fail, is how what I did that didn't work, what I find a different approach to try to fix the same problem, how I understand that the problem that I am trying to solve sometimes is very complex, how I break it down into small pieces in a way that I can solve piece by piece and not the full thing in a one time. And that is very important. Failure is a learning experience. It's something that we need to encourage the people. And every time that they have a failure, is then take a time, do a post-mortem and say, okay, I did wrong, what I did wrong. What in the things that I tried to do it was right, and what else I can learn from here. That is one of the points I do.
Sorry to interrupt you, Jorge, but what you mentioned, I believe, is crucial to the whole discussion we're having now, because when students get something wrong, 99.99 times out of 100, the outcome is you failed. At best, you have to make up in a makeup test. And none of what you mentioned actually happens in schools, at least in most of the academic schools that we're used to. There is no process of considering a non-successful endeavor part of the learning process. It's like no student that I know said, "Oh, good, I got a bad grade. That would help me build my resilience and capacity to develop for the future."
Yeah, that is very true, and we need to figure out how to solve this. And the only way to do it is, first and all, allow the people to recognize that if you are trying to do, and you by yourself, find out that you are not able to solve a problem, don't hesitate to say, I am not ready. What else I can do? That is stopping by, make a reflection, make a little bit backtrack and try to figure out what next to do it is very important. And in that point, as you mentioned, in the schools, we're very much used to have a very fixed calendar that we need to do. For the 15th of the month, you are going to have a test. And if you don't succeed, that test is bad. That is not necessarily. Sometimes we need to have a little more time, but it's important that we figure out that we are doing something, we are putting effort, and we need to show that we are working. If we don't improve or we don't reach the goal, is one thing. If we are lazy and we don't do anything, that is very bad, and we need to punish that.
Can I just add to that?
Yeah,
Gabriel?
I was going to turn it over to you, Peter. Now, yes,
That's
go
right.
ahead, please.
If you look at failure, and I totally agree, 100%. I'll give you an example of one of our students, and both of our young ladies here, young people, have that. If they fail in what they're doing, they just get back up. And that's like the saying, get back up on the horse, and off they go again. We have one of our students. We have in our year 12 curriculum, we do a Cert 3 in business and entrepreneurship. So they learn how to run a business and then learn how to innovate in a passion that they want to do. In that, some of our students also run businesses at the same time as they're doing their studies. And that's part of their industry. A good example of that is one of our young ladies is a florist. So she's running a florist business as she is running her industry at the same time. If she fails and it doesn't work, she fails and she learns from that. And then she improves from that and gets better and better at it. And it's really important that we learn to succeed and then also learn to get back up again and have another go. And that's part of resilience. I find in our young generation, and this is where I'm really passionate about what we are doing now here in the current environment I'm in, If our students fail, we usually try to fix it and they get back up. We don't teach them how to get back up themselves. We don't teach them the skills of resilience. They get a sense of entitlement that I deserve to do this because I just should have it. We have helicopter parents that just put them on their phones and go with it. For example, at our place, none of our students have their phones during the day. None. They have to communicate. They have to read facial expressions. They have to problem solve when they're doing it. They use the phones as a form of communication, not the form of communication when they're doing it. If they get something wrong, they've got to take the responsibility and deal with it. We're there to help them, mentor them, guide them, and going forward. And in that process, we've had 100% of our students achieve their academic outcomes. That's with failures and with successes. But in the actual regimented system, for example, in a state education system or a wider system, then they just put it through. It's a factory, and then they try to succeed with it. So I have a great respect for failure, and I have a great respect for learning from that. And it teaches our students to be, and our young people to be very resilient, and then they get that sense of drive and determination to succeed.
Peter, how does that happen in real life? Tell us
Yeah.
how that actually materializes in assessment and the day-to-day running of the school.
So we have for us, we have our teachers, and then we have all our curriculum heads, and that works well within the classroom. But we also have a link called industry consultants who work side by side in a Google type offices in the actual school. So they will then work individually and mentor the students while they are out in the industry and what they are doing. And they'll communicate with the employers and or trainers or whoever it may be that are training there for their success. And then they'll feed that back into with the teachers in the educational setting, so they're all operating in one. So if they're failing in one area, we'll be able to catch what's actually occurring and then try to be able to mentor or ask questions around for the student to be able to solve their own problems. Because if we're not teaching them how to solve themselves, there's a problem in doing that. So we also have next year we've incorporated a wellbeing system where they are vertical in years 10, 11 and 12. And those 10, 11 and 12s mentor each other, but then we have a wellbeing mentor, which is outside to monitor their wellbeing and monitor their academics, their industry, their family lives and everything else, so that we've got that support around them. So if they fail, they've got a net to fall on, but we just don't place them into it. They bring themselves back up into it. So we've got systems that we've spent a considerable amount of money on to create so that we are exactly what you were saying before to work with the hardships, because there's got to be those dips and troughs and rises as well.
Thank you, Peter. Jorge, going back to the skills, and then how to prepare our students in different parts of the world to do well. What would you say are the most desired important skills that are valued in an ecosystem, again, that is so highly regarded by most people like Silicon Valley? What would you say are the skills?
Well, first and all, is leadership is so critical because you need to take decisions to move forward. You mentioned, and Peter show us that with the two girls, communication. That is one of the things that are very, very critical. How we are able to create messages, convey that message, and validate that message reach into the right way to the people. And for that, we need to think a lot of critical thinking. Critical thinking is something that I found that in the universities is not a common kind of course. In fact, I don't know anyone that is a very trending topic where I can take a learning experience about critical thinking. I can do design thinking, I can do creativity, I can do decision making, but critical thinking is something that is assumed that is understood, but it's not true. We need to really work in that kind of thing, because when we use personally, and that is one of the things in the as a skill that you have here in the Valley, is how you find that you are talking with a person, you are having a conversation, and you are not engaging. in that conversation. You are not moving forward. The people is losing interest. That is something that we need to have very clear way to identify, be very critical. I am doing right in this moment, having that in real time. And today, with the technology that we are able to really get so very fast answers for a lot of things, critical thinking is becoming very, very much important. And with the use of AI, the people is very much concerned that AI could fail, could say something wrong. But in my point of view, every person also can say wrong things and doing bias into the wrong directions. We need to use that critical thinking personally to say this information is really correct. That critical thinking allow me to validate that that idea that I am getting a proposal, a solution is the correct one. And that is something that, in my point of view, we need to work very, very much strong. In that sense, as a summary, I will say leadership is critical, communication is critical, creativity is important, and critical thinking is very, very, very important. And on the side, humility, how many times you need to recognize that you don't know, or how many times you need to acknowledge that you are wrong in some way. And being wrong is not bad. The point is when you are behaving but trying to cover your wrong mistakes. And that is something that we need to really focus in how you identify that. It's better to say, sorry, I miss it. I need to review, or I need to accept that something I need to change my mind.
Yeah, thank you, Jorge. That's very much on point. Unfortunately, we in K-12 education have been talking about and extolling the value of critical thinking and have done very little or nothing about it. So, yeah, that's it's rather painful to hear that. You're absolutely right, and it's a sad reflection on how much we still need to do regarding education. Let me go to an adjacent topic that I think is relevant to both your perspectives. In the industry school, Peter, from all that we've heard and we know, students are working closely with whatever their interests are, and that gives them a sense of self-confidence and a vision for their future. And at the other end of the spectrum, when we think about successful entrepreneurs in a place like Silicon Valley, we always tend to associate that with, again, venture capital and so many billions of dollars for which a company has been sold. So there is a confusing narrative in terms of success for entrepreneurs regarding the monetary value of an idea, no? And the open question for both of you, and again, let's start with Peter so that we move chronologically in terms of ages, is how important is it to align students in their teenage years and then when they are entrepreneurs with a sense of purpose, so that what they study, what they learn, and later what they do as entrepreneurs is aligned with what they're interested in and what they resonate with?
I can actually talk about that within the system we use, because we use the same. If you love what you do and you're passionate what you do, you don't work a day in your life. And if you've got purpose in what you want to do, then that's purposeful. You don't work at all. So we look at it as a passion and a vocation to what they do. Now, where we are, our students will have in their half blocks of their half semester, they might go out and do what we call WEX, which would be work experience in any area that they perceive they'd like to have a go in. And so they go out and do that. Now, they might do in year 10, 3 to 4 different areas in that year. And they'll work out what their passion is for. That might even happen in year 11. But by the time they get to year 12, they've got some idea what they want to have a further study into and practical basis for a longer term. Now, that might change when they're 24, 25. And research will say that in a lifetime, people now will change their careers 7 or 8 times. And that's definitely not for people like the three of us here. But the new generation will do that. So it's the ability to be able to, as I said before, creative thinking, to be able to innovate, to be able to problem solve, but at the same time to be able to be resilient and determined, be grateful, and also to be passionate and have a purpose. And I think in the world, we've lost that. We've lost it's not about making the dollar. If you do what you do and you love what you do in making a difference and you have a purpose, you'll earn a good living by doing that, whatever that amount might be. You might be a billionaire, or you might be very comfortable, or you might just be able to pay your bills. But it's really important that we give that wide opportunity for the individual to make that choice, and we provide the opportunities for them to get those choices. So we do that where we are and what we're designing. But at the same time, that has a great difference of areas that people take. There might be people who are going into IT or going into areas that are highly technical and very specialised, to other areas that may not need that as much study, but might need a lot more physical capabilities. In Australia, we've got the Olympics in 2032 in this city. We are 25,000 tradespeople short to build those stadiums. That's huge. And so we're filling that where there are so many different vocations that people can take on that have some great opportunities to be able to do that. So there is massive opportunities here to try things and succeed.
Thank you, Peter. Jorge, can you reflect on, again, this kind of illusion of success regarding entrepreneurship and sense of purpose, and how that is aligned or not in the real world in Silicon Valley?
Well, that is something quite interesting, and that will be quite interesting to compare notes with what is the point of view in Australia. Is in Silicon Valley, one of the things is how you succeed is you succeed solving problems to the people, and how you find the way to how you find that you are successful because the people is buying your product and using it, and much better when the people using and is suggesting to other people, making recommendations to be used. That is the best maybe point of success in some way. And in my point of view, and that is my question, in a lot of times in Latin America, is a mindset that success is to win competitions or to win some kind of demo days or things like that. Then I call it entrepremium. Entrepremium because they are seeking for the premium to have a diploma that they are going to hang out in the back of the office. And in my point of view, that is not a metric of success. And that is in some way, that is something that distracts the people because they are seeking for getting a recognition, but that recognition is not necessarily a very clear acknowledge that you are successful. For me, that is, and my point of view is very drastical in that we need to train the people to be clear what means success. And one of the points that I found here in Silicon Valley is you define success when you start, not when you finish. And that is very important because you say, I'm going to get a 1,000 users, so I'm going to get this system that is going to be running under these conditions. You set something that is very well measurable. And that is important. When you try to go for some goal without being clear what means success, at the middle of the way, you could say, I succeed. And that is some way, an easy way to convey that, okay, I reached something, but not necessarily you achieve what it was in your mind. And that point is, in my point of view, critical to focus in getting into a very clear, defined metric and a goal. That is, for me, is the most important element. And here in the Silicon Valley, when you're an entrepreneur, you decide how to take that measurements very early in the stage. Right now, for instance, I am working in my game that is Bridge of Life. My goal is for end of the year, how I'm going to have the first 25 users that are continuous users month to month to play that game. And the next step will be how I'm going to get 1,000 people, how that 1,000 people are paid people, and that is going to generate revenue for the company. And that sense is how you move forward. That sense of achievement is very important. When you have metrics that are a little bit soft in some way, you are not making the discipline that need to be involved. And education must have some kind of discipline, must have the way that you by yourself define the goals. In this world today, we should not wait that the boss come to us and say, you need to achieve this thing. You need to get into some way, say, that is my goal, I want to achieve it, and you may ask for help to your boss in how that is going to be achieved. It's not in the way that is the top down, is something that you say by yourself where you want to head and how you are going to reach that point.
In and another of the themes that is very relevant today in education, thankfully, is well-being, and we can associate that with work-life balance and the myth of the entrepreneur who works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and is and pressure makes diamonds, etc. Let's continue with Jorge, and then we'll go back to Peter. Do you see that? Is the outside image is that somebody who wants to create a startup needs to be obsessed and devoted entirely to creating something. They have no life, no family, no friends, no sports, no well-being. How is that changing? Are the successful entrepreneurs only finding work-life balance once they've made it? How do you see that, Jorge?
That's a very tough question because I could not say that is so radical. It is true. When you are motivated to achieve something, you put all the effort that you wanted. But in the other side, I can tell you, having a great way to spend time with your kids, with your sons, have discussions with your friends, spend time outside of the day-to-day work is also valuable. And here, in my point of view, is I has been all my life a workaholic, but I can tell you, I has invested so much time in my kids. I has been enjoying having conversations with them that I don't see that I do not have a balanced work life. It's clear that when you are doing something, you need to focus in what you are doing. If you are with family, you focus in family. If you are with work, you need to focus on work. And that is the most important thing. How you keep that concentration, how that dedication of your assignment of time is really achieved. And in some sense, so you need to sacrifice in a given times work for family or family for work in a to balance in some way. And that I will say is not so strict than a successful entrepreneur need to forget about everything in life and focus in that. Is he need to focus in success and need to figure out how that success needs in sometimes the break to have a coffee with the friends, a break to have a reading of book, a time to walk around the field and enjoy the ocean or the forest in a way that you relax it in a way that you really get inspirations sometimes, and that is very important. Good thinking happens not when you are so much stressed and in the work. Working around is important, and having that freedom to spend the time to do some other activities is critical. And I can tell you, I am a coffee lover, and I really appreciate having my coffees and walking around the different places.
Wonderful, thank you, Peter. What do you teach your students about work-life balance, well-being?
Yeah, we most definitely do. We use the theory of you can't, exactly what was just said, you can't operate on a half-filled cup. You've got to fill your cup. And how do you fill your cup so it operates well? Well, you have the attitude that you work to live, you don't live to work. So meaning that is that you don't do all of your life as work. You take the time to have life and enjoy it. And by working and having that purpose, and you are so right. Excuse me, behind me. You have so right. Look, I don't feel like I'm working right now with this big fella right behind me. But if you really have the attitude that you're enjoying what you do, you don't feel like that you're working as part of your purpose. But when you're right, when you're super driven, you just go beyond it and you work to make that purpose and to achieve that goal. But the only way to do that is to be able to recharge yourself so that you're able to do that and have the energy to do it and the mental space and be present and be calm and, and to live life and laugh and be happy and enjoy it. And as you said, go to the ocean, go sit and contemplate and reflect. And that's the only way that you're going to get better. So all of those are just as important skills than they are than working all the time in every single moment. So I totally agree. And we teach our students to do that. And I can tell you, they work hard because they're up here or wherever we are, whatever they're doing, at around about 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning. And they may not finish till 5 or 6 o'clock at night. So they're tired and they have to we talk about getting to sleep at the right time, having good rest. What do you do on the weekends? How do you recharge to come to the week ahead? Which is all very, very important, and no matter what career that you're doing. And it's really important. I also do that with the staff as well. I try to boot the staff out by 4:30. They're not staying any later because they've been there since the crack of dawn. So I'll put the fire alarm on if I have to. But what they haven't got done today, they'll do tomorrow because it'll be a higher productivity because they'll be rested to do it.
Closely related to that is the in both K-12 and what you see in Silicon Valley or in the general entrepreneurial environment, is how we teach our students that that they can contribute to the greater good. No, it's not only the sense of purpose, but creating something or aligning with something that contributes positively to society. Peter, can you share that first, and then we'll go to Jorge?
Yeah, so it is. I suppose one of the big things I'm seeing with students talking about contributing positively to society is a sense of social justice, and that's getting bigger and bigger. And so in education, I've always been big on service and having that as a component of the education. So we'll have students, or our young people will go out and serve and mow lawns and build places. Recently, a group went to Cambodia and built houses that weren't there for the people there. So flew across parts of the world to do that, and also work in their own community with aged care and or animals, a whole range of different things, all for free, to be able to do that, which gives them a sense of purpose and positivity in what they're doing. And then that transfers off to their sense of doing something else in purpose in life. So that sense of positivity and purpose comes from the self-drive within of doing something that you're making a difference. Because if you don't have a connection to making a difference, then nothing will work. And I'm really big on that, Gabrielle, because I suppose that might come from who I am or the self who I am. I don't like to have that influence where you're going to school to get a great job to make millions of dollars and it's all about yourself. It's not about you. If you're really going to make an influence on the world, it has to be about others and what you're doing to do that and creating that. Now, you may make, as I said, a really good living out of it, but it's really important to give back and make sure that you are making a difference. And I suppose for me, and I'm watching a lot of the stuff that's happening across the world at this point in time, really does disappoint me, because we've lost that in education. We've got to look outside of the classroom, look outside of the educational scope, to get our students to look on a global environment on how can they make that better, just so we don't make the mistakes that we've made in the past going into the future.
Thank you, Jorge. Then, how much is, again, we always stress the fact that you are one of the centers of innovation in the world, again, a place that has become culturally, again, very aspirational. How much of an issue, how much of a factor is contributing to the greater good when people start developing a startup? Is it a factor at all, or not?
Yeah, that's very important. And the point is, a lot of people believe that a startup means to be rich. And that is something that happens as a second part. How you get rich is because you are solving of making something that the people need. And they need it, and they get a value from that. Learning how to create value is, from my point of view, one of the things I has been learning very much here. All the time say how much I am helping to solve the problem, that the problem that my solution for that, solving that problem, how much benefit do to the people. When you are creating the value proposition, when you are talking to the people, you want to tell them what your idea is going to provide them some value. And that is one of the very critical parts. I believe that we need to focus on in education how the people produce value that is going to improve the day-to-day life, the environment, the conditions of the society. And I can tell you a lot of my experience, personal experience in the success of projects. I recall my first project when I just left the university in Mexico was how to help running the electrical utility systems. And I say it's a pleasure to see that when you turn on or off a light, you can say that light is getting energy because I create a system, equipment that are in the substations or in the plant generations that is going to distribute the energy. That kind of things provide a sense of value, a sense of helping people tremendously. My second project, that was when I started my first company in Mexico, was how to automate the water system distribution in Mexico. Every time that you turn the faucet of a place and you see water, you say that water is getting here for assistance than I provided. That was much more valuable. In the two cases, was a huge projects. I can tell you, was that was very well financially rewarded. But the most value for me was having the feeling that you have energy, you have water, because assistance that I provide is helping you to to reach the energy of the water into your house. That is the kind of things that is very valuable. And here in the Silicon Valley, you see very much a lot of people say, I want to build some kind of tool that is going to reduce the time to develop a project. I'm going to build a tool that is going to help people to feel better in the health conditions. So is people, because we need to understand the Silicon Valley is not only talking about computers, it's also talking about biotech, it's talking about systems, it's talking about social environment. Non-profit organizations here is huge, is much huger than I can imagine, than how people is helping to reach people around the world, how you create diaspora clubs or communities. Is any kind of things is good to help the people improve their life. And that is the goal that I can see. And it's important that the people believe that if they do something good, they are going to be rewarded, but need to be focused in how to make good things, and not how to be rewarded.
Wonderful, thank you. Let's do a closing segment for 90 seconds each. Peter, can you start? Just give us a wrap up of what your general ideas have been, and what your own sense of purpose is at this stage in your career.
Yeah, I think for me, it's educating the individual and creating great young people who are going to make a difference in the world for a better place. And whether that is innovating and creating things that are way out there that we haven't thought of, but it's also about creating a world that is peaceful and everybody together. I think for me, I've learned so much in education. I wish that I had another 30 or 40 years. You get to the final third or final quarter of the game, and you're actually really, I've got a good picture of what it is to develop a young person to make a fantastic impact across the world, and to create programs to do that through whatever vocation or job that they're going to do. And for me, it's about developing the person. And if you develop the skills in that, the will in that person to develop the skills that are needed, whether it is in a direct profession or that they're going to go across many professions, which they will in their lifetime, that they're able to succeed and fail and get back up and keep going. And I think the one other thing that we're missing in education is teaching our students how to be grateful, have gratitude. And I'm not saying being grateful or gratitude towards those who teach them everything, and that's important. Grateful for life, grateful for the weather, grateful for how beautiful this world really is and how much better they can make it be. And I say those words not as just like a presentation on it. I truly mean it, that education needs to do that individually. I don't believe that in education, for example, where I am now, I think the entire system needs to be overturned and broken up and not have classes that are like factory, the same in this that was in the 17th century. And we need to look at doing it very differently. And that's what we are trying to do so that we can make that impact on our young people who are the next generation who will run this world. And we want it to be sustainable.
Wonderful. Thank you, Peter. Jorge, your closing words
Well,
as we welcome our friends from Singapore who are just entering the room.
yeah, that is fantastic, and I agree very much with you, Peter. Is we need to be thinking how we learn a lot of things, and now how we are going to give back to the community, and that is one of the things. In my point of view, that is one of the goals I am trying to set up. How to all the all generation is giving back to the people to train them as a mentors, as people that can share the knowledge and experience that we grab it during the life in a way that they learn how to use the good things that we learned and how to fight the bad things that we face it. That is something that is very important. We are very much looking how to create that environment, and the new generation, we are in an inflection point that the way that everything happens is going to change radically. Education is very strong. I feel that learning is going to be more important than teaching, as I said at the beginning of this conversation, and that learning is something that we need to teach people how to learn more than teaching them all the knowledge, because the knowledge is now available to everybody through any of the AI tools. The thing is how we use it, that knowledge, to improve their way of life, and select it, use it, organize it, and be friendly to the environment, to the people, to achieve our goals. I really see and perceive that the next generation is facing a very, very challenging times, but for the other side, I see that they are going in. They are in the point that they could make this place a unique learning place, a unique environment to feel that you can achieve whatever is in your mind. That is a very powerful statement. We are able to create a lot of things because we have access to the knowledge that in the old times, in the 15th centuries, was hidden into libraries and access to a very few people. Today, all knowledge is available to everybody and snap. And that is going to be a different opportunity. We need to change our mindset and make that mindset much more optimistic, more productive, and focus into making this world a much better place.
Thank you, Jorge. Thank you, Peter. It's been a very inspirational segment, and we've heard from very varied but very enriching perspectives. So thanks for joining us, and
Thank you,
we will
Gabriel.
move on to the next segment with some distinguished speakers from Singapore. We will, thank you. We
Bye
will
now.
stop the live screen. Those of you who are watching the live stream, please reload in 10 seconds so that we